Hello, and welcome to another edition of Thought Leaders Live, where we talk with thought leaders in business, life, and all points in between. Very excited to be joined today by Cynthia Frost White, a longtime leader of Channeled Resources Group, where she spent 4 decades helping guide the growth of a family owned business. Cindy, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, the title of the show is Choosing Independence, Growing a Family Business Without Private Equity. Um, Cindy, why don't you tell us a little bit about your personal journey and then the family business that you're leading right now?
Um, I don't know if you want to hear the whole story, but I could tell you, when I graduated from college, my father had told me if I didn't have a job, I'd be on the street. So I had
Okay.
a job when I graduated. Yeah, he was tough. And I worked for Procter and Gamble. I sold to food service and lodging companies. It was a great beginning job. And then I got bored, and I joined the family business. And at the time, there were three of us. And my father is the ultimate entrepreneur. He didn't tell me anything. He just said, go out on the street, go, as a matter of fact, in Chicago area, Elk Grove Village, and go door to door and try and find printers who want to sell you their waste paper. And I did. I didn't know any better. So I went, I parked my car and I walked and went door to door to all the printers and tried to get their waste paper. And that is how I started in 1987, I think it was. Um, I don't know. Anyways, it was a rough beginning. I had worked for P&G with my little uniform with my bow tie, and you had to look a certain way. And then all of a sudden, I'm trying to show up in the back of print plants, trying to get their waste paper. And yeah, but we ended up ending getting waste paper going, and that's how I learned the paper industry. So we would buy waste paper from companies and then sell it to paper mills for repulping and traditional recycling. And I spent a ton of time at paper mills, understanding how paper was made, um, understanding the furnish, and eventually decided this was the stupidest business we could be in. We made $100 for every truck we sold. And so in order to make a living, you have to sell a heck of a lot of trucks. Um, and that's about the time when we went off into buying seconds from companies. And that's really where we got started in what we do today in about a third of our business. So we would buy from paper mills who make specialty coated products, pressure sensitive manufacturers like Avery and Raflatac, buy their seconds and then resell it back into the market. And today that's about a third of our business, where we bring in their byproduct, specialty coated products that cannot be traditionally recycled. And then we find markets for it, whether it's resold in North America for what it was intended to be used, but as a seconds, or we sell it into Asia, into low end applications, or we have it going off into waste to energy. My father loves recycling. He loves sustainability. He doesn't want anything to go in the ground. And he's 86, and he still does that all the time. He lives and breathes trying to help people keep stuff out of the landfill.
Oh man,
But,
we need more warriors like your father and more of that mindset, in my opinion. But
well,
um,
he is. Yeah, that's what he loves.
well, tell me a little bit. So now the seconds and the was that the
So
first, is
he
that
was,
what portion of your business is that now?
so we're now, we got into manufacturing in 1995 in Toronto, where we took an old coder that one of our suppliers of seconds got rid of. And we found somebody who knew how to run it, because we were salespeople. We didn't know how to run a machine. And that's when we started silicone coating. And that business took us a while to figure out. We did the selling and our partner did the manufacturing. And eventually in 2008, we bought him out and took over the manufacturing as well. And that was my first chance of seeing what manufacturing was like. And that was the beginning of where we are today. Now we have 4 silicone coaters, 2 in Wisconsin, 2 in Canada. Why the big ones in Wisconsin are 70 inches and 65 inches. We call them the Starship Enterprises. They're huge. And then we have a bunch of label machines. So we are actually making blank shipping labels. And that's been the big evolution of our business, where we can control our destiny. When you buy waste paper or you buy seconds, you can't control your destiny. You're stuck figuring out what to do with other people's byproduct.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an up and down business. Very hard to make consistent business when you have no control over what is coming in the door.
Right.
So that today, manufactured products, whether it's release liner or label stock, is well over 2/3 of our business. And that's the future of our company. And that's why I get calls all the time from people who want to buy us out.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Well, before we get there, I just want to circle back to your dad and yourself. And I mean, I love the family business dynamics. You said he's tough, and and your dad's name is Calvin, a legend, I think, in the industry. And the relationship with you coming on board, my son is working for me now, so I love to hear about other people's stories. And obviously we don't have to get into personal details, but what has the dynamic been like working? Because obviously you took the company in a different direction. Was that kind of a consensus between you and your father? How did that all happen? And you have evolved from that person who's going door to door to really building this business in a new way. And maybe talk to me a little bit about the dynamic through the years.
Well, my father has supported me 100%. He still loves playing with anybody's rejects. He is fascinated with the manufacturing side, but he's completely stayed out of it, which has been wonderful. And I am very fortunate to have a brother-in-law who has the same love for manufacturing that I do. And he and I have really done it together. We've built it together. The family dynamics, oh boy, there's a bunch of family in our business now. Both my sisters and I now own the business. My father gifted it to us, which was very kind. Doesn't mean he doesn't tell us constantly what he thinks. He does. And that's okay. And every once in a while I say, "That's great, Dad. Thank you." And I just keep going. But he's got some good words of wisdom, which are important. And I try to be patient and listen to everything. But the other family members, so my 2 sisters who own the business, one is in customer service, the other is kind of an admin assistant. And in the beginning, it was exhausting because they didn't know anything about the business. And I've been here for so long, and they didn't. One joined 5 years ago, the other joined a couple of years ago. And now, though, I am really grateful because as owners of the company, now they're starting to get it. Like when we have a serious issue with a senior manager in the business, or when we need to borrow money, they've been around enough, and I talk to them. We have regular family meetings where we talk about what's going on in the business, what's working, what's not. And they too, like my father, love to give me advice. And I am very good at listening. And then I have my brother-in-law, who's great. And then, like you, my brother-in-law and sister, Rich and Sarah Hoffman, their son, Alex, works for us.
Okay.
And my daughter, Ginny, works for us.
Cool.
And bringing in this 3rd generation has been the best thing that we've done. They are so bright. They think in a different way. They can do things so much faster than we can do them. they don't have the experience, but they're getting it really fast. They've both been here about 5 years. Um, and I'm really proud of them. Alex is at the University of Chicago getting his master's,
Whoa.
uh, which is going to be great. He's taking an accounting class right now. I said, have fun with that.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and then Ginny is just had her second baby, so she's off for a couple of months, but
Oh, congrats.
she is working away at home while she's off, which that just shows you the family dedication that you. I think that's what is great. And are there ups and downs? Heck yeah. I was thinking about this before we got on today, and I think every business has issues, right? You have an issue with your manager or somebody working for you. The difference with a family business is we tell each other exactly what we think. And sometimes it hurts, but it is very out there. We don't hold back. And I think it makes us a better, stronger company. We have learned to be careful how we do it. I can tell you in the last, 20 years ago, we were having screaming matches where everybody in the office could hear us.
Hmm.
Uh, and we are working very hard to make sure we have a common voice, but we're all different. And I think, what they say when you run a good business is, and you're a manager, you surround yourself with people who think differently. Because
Hmm.
if you hire people that are all the same, you're not going to be able to handle all the different things that come at you. And our family, every single person is incredibly different with different talents, and it helps us. I seem to make quick, I can make decisions really quickly. My brother-in-law, who's really my right hand here, thinks through everything
Hmm.
methodically.
Yeah.
And that's what I need for a yin and yang. It's good.
Right. I think, from a family business perspective, and I just wrote a post about this uh, last week, that, you know, they understand you as a person. They know how you are emotionally, what propels you, what you react to. And I think that when you're working with someone like that who has that knowledge of you beyond just your skill set, they can understand where you're coming from with some of those decisions. And it's a different perspective than somebody from the outside. They might see you making decisions, but they don't know why you're making decisions. They don't know your history, and they don't have that context. So I think there's some real benefit to that. And I'm glad you're finding your way through getting past the yelling, screaming matches, and maybe it sounds like you're getting more empathy for each other and figuring out a way to work together.
Well, I think what's been interesting for me, especially, bringing more people into the business, when you're a family owner, family business, I mean, we have 160 employees. When my daughter, for example, walks into the plant, everybody's looking, wondering what she's thinking, and she just thinks she's just an average person,
Right.
um, doesn't realize the impact that she has. And it takes a while to figure that out. But every single employee is wondering, what are we thinking? What are we, do we like them? Do we not like them? It,
Right.
it, it's,
Eggshells a little bit.
yeah, and we have to be very careful and very positive. Um,
Okay. So let's get into the meat of the matter here about the private equity. And thank you for all the background there. That was very helpful. All that being said, come on, Cindy. You got you got the money. It's knocking at your door. Why are you why are you fighting the natural flow of things? You sound a little bit like your dad. You're a warrior in this for this family business. Why not just sell it off to private equity? Let's talk a little bit about it and why what it like the first thing we want to talk about. What does it really mean to say no to private equity, and why do you say no?
I think that we are a long-term, we're looking at the long term. We're not looking at the short term. The short term would be easy. Let's, get paid millions of dollars and go put our feet up by the beach somewhere.
Right.
I would, A, I'd be bored stiff, but B, we love our employees. We want to make sure that they're taken care of. I can't tell you how many places I've watched where private equity comes in and they let go this person and that person. And we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let that business, our business model that we've worked so hard on, go. And G3, our generation 3, so there's eight nieces and nephews. They're excited about the future, and they know that they're going to have ownership someday, and hopefully dividends. We have never given dividends. We take all the money we make and we keep investing it back into the company. But someday, hopefully, I laugh with my nephew and my daughter, like, yeah, you guys are going to be sitting back eating bonbons while we've worked our butts off.
Sure. Well, no, that's a legit thing. I mean, they say G3 is where usually a family business tends to fall off.
Yeah, and I don't know what G3 will have to make their own decisions on what happens, but we're not going anywhere for a good 10 or 15 years. So they're stuck. But I think that they want to control their own destiny too. And you sell out to private equity and you can make all sorts of deals. You can sell it all and go away. You can sell it and stay involved and keep some of it. You can do all sorts of different things. I think that our family is so excited and proud of what we've done. And we're just on the verge of greatness. We haven't gotten there yet, but we're really close. With the equipment we've purchased in the last 5 years, some of it in the last 2 years, we're on the precipice of major growth. And
Wow.
we're all excited about this. It's fun. And we want to be able to control that. We don't want somebody coming in and saying, what are your quarterly earnings? We need so much money of profitability, and don't invest in new equipment. Don't hire more R&D people because they want more money, more money, more money.
Right.
We don't want to have anybody telling us what to do.
Yeah, I work with one of our clients is family owned. And I think what to me is really impressive about what they do is what you were just alluding to there. They have these stories about the owner who would say, just do whatever it takes to make the customer happy. Like, I don't care how much this costs. I don't care how much time you spend. Get it right. And he could do that. He had that flexibility. He didn't have that oversight. And I think that's huge. I mean, I think that's the whole ball game to me. So tell me how maybe you approach customers, and is that similar to how you think in terms of customer service and customer experience?
Definitely. I mean, and I go on a lot of sales calls, and
Good
we
for you.
talk we talk a lot about what a family-owned business can do for our customers. We can move so fast. We don't have a bureaucracy that we have to go through, and we have flexibility in making decisions on everything from R&D trials that we can get done very quickly versus others who have got stuck in the layers of how they're going to do things. Our customers really appreciate how we go to market, how the speed, how they can reach out and talk to me anytime they want. They are tired. I think a lot of, especially the bigger companies, are really tired of these private equity turns of ownership from one company to another, and having to meet new people, and driving out, some of our big competitors, they're not doing it right now, but in the last few years, as they've been trying to sell their business, because private equity likes to sell, it looks like every 5 to 7
Right.
years. And when they do that, they got to cut costs so the business looks profitable. And they gut their sales team, their R&D team, and And then the customer ends up going, who's helping me? Who's taking
Yeah.
care of me? They're tired of that. And so we're a fresh face coming in, because we're new, especially in the release liner side. We are the new company, the only one who's invested heavily in new equipment in the last 5 years. And
Wow.
we're family and we're there and we're not selling and we're going to be here. So it's fun.
That's really exciting, Cindy. And I think that there are, I mean, I do know some private equity firms that are out there that are kind of waking up maybe to the stigma that is now upon them. I mean, money talks, obviously, but I've run into some private equity firms that are holding some of these companies longer than 5 years and trying to really understand that value. And maybe what you're doing and I think the competitive edge you offer as a family business, maybe it's making people think twice about this, quick turn, because it seems like, everything you do is long term. You're always thinking long term. You're thinking about G3, you're thinking about your customers and keeping them happy. Is there some sort of method when you're leading the team that keeps you focused on long term, or is it just because it's so inherent in the business you don't even have to? I mean, obviously everybody has to worry about short term costs, right?
Yeah. Um, our management style, we use EOS, which is Entrepreneurial Operating System. And one of the things that you do with that is you start with your 10-year goal and then a 3-year goal. And that message goes out everywhere. And it's mostly revenue based, with a hint at the kind of margins we want to make. But in order to do that, we have to have a plan of what kind of equipment do we need? What kind of people development do we need to do that? And so everybody in the whole company knows this. We talk, next week, I'm going up to our plant in Wisconsin. I have 10 meetings, each lasting 30 minutes long, where I am going through how we did in 2025, how we did in 20, or what we're going to do in 2026. And then we talk about our plans 3 years, 10 years out, and share and ask for input and get everybody excited and on board. So the whole company knows what we're trying to do.
Do you talk to me a little bit about culture and company culture? Because I think, especially in today's world, AI, the need for connection seems to be mounting and growing. And, there's everybody's worried about AI, how it will impact jobs, how it will impact people. Tell me about your company culture, how you connect um, with your team, and just how you maintain this kind of spirit of the company, and communicate success and values.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of companies do this, but our family is out in front of employees as often as we can. Um, whether you're a family-owned business or you're in a big publicly owned company, if you're not in front of people who are working for you all the time, they lose track of what's the mission, what are we trying to do. And so we do that. I do my little 30-minute meetings twice a year with all the employees, and they know what's going on. I walk the plants whenever I go. We have 3 different facilities. When I go, I'm out there. I know all the old timers. I'm struggling with the people who just were hired in the last year, but I'm working on it. But that's key, right? Being present and being there so that they feel like they're part of something. And that's our goal.
That's fantastic. So tell me a little bit about where you're headed with Channel Resources. What's the vision of the company? Where do you see the company going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, we we have three divisions. The surplus solutions, it's kind of a funny name, is all of the old seconds business. So we buy from all the major manufacturers of pressure sensitive and some of the release liner suppliers, and we get their seconds and we sell it all over. That business is probably going to stay stagnant, but we don't see it going away. We don't see it growing, but it's important to the legacy of what we started. And
Sure.
part of that is helping companies with their byproducts. So any of our other customers, we can help them with recycling and byproduct issues. So that's going to continue. The real growth will be in label and release liner, and we're continuing to put in new equipment. It seems like about every 2 years, we're putting in massive pieces of equipment. We see a huge potential of growth in both of those areas, and that's where our money and our future plans and people are going. So yeah, release liner, we're still small compared to some of the big companies. And we love that because we can kind of get in under the radar. On the label side, we have learned so much. We got our first ETI machine. Are you familiar with ETI?
I'm not.
ETI is a company in Montreal that makes label equipment and other machines, but it's silicone coats, adhesive coats, and die cuts all in one step. So we can make a finished roll of blank shipping labels in one process. So unlike in the old days, people would buy a laminate from a major pressure sensitive manufacturer, and then they would die cut it and then ship it out. So we skip the major manufacturer pressure sensitive. We make it ourselves and die cut and make the finished roll all in one step. It's cool. We didn't know what the heck we were doing when we started. I think it was about 2015. We bought a used piece of equipment. We didn't invest in ETI coming in to help us figure out how to do it. It took us 2 years to figure out how to do it. And now we know what we're doing, and we've got some nice equipment, and we're doing some offline die cutting. And it's a nice piece of business. Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit, just because your background is sales, and I'd love to hear about somebody coming up through the ranks as a salesperson, because to me, that's the whole ball game is sales and marketing. How do you see yourselves, sales and marketing? Is there a methodology specific to the team or any kind of philosophy you follow?
Yeah. So in the old days, it was pretty easy. We were selling seconds to pressure sensitive. So we joined Association TLMI. We started advertising in labels and narrow web.
Right.
We were really focused on the label market. Today, our markets are really diversified. I mean, on the release liner side, we focus on the composite market, the tape market, the medical markets. There's a lot of industrial sealants, adhesives. So it's really kind of shotgunned all over the place. That we're still figuring out how to do the best marketing. We're joining associations. We're getting involved with the associations, being on committees, meeting people. That is really our biggest marketing. We go to trade shows, but it's the face-to-face, getting involved with associations has been a really big part. The label side, we're selling through a lot of packaging distributors, things like that. And so we're not talking to the end users. And that's a whole different ballgame. We're not really advertising or marketing. We're just going out trying to meet packaging companies.
Sure.
A lot of knocking on doors.
Okay. Cindy, we're almost at the top of the hour here. So if someone wants to learn more about Channel Resources and work with you, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Well, the website we've got all sorts of contact information in there. That's www.channeledresources.com. Certainly, if you really want to talk to me and you're not private equity, Um, you can meet me at or reach out to me at my email, which is cfrostwhite@channelresources.com.
Okay. And can they get you through LinkedIn as well?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm on LinkedIn every day. I love LinkedIn.
Oh, fantastic.
I know you are too.
I am. Yeah, I definitely am. Amazing network. So, Cindy, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your experience, the story of your company. I think it's really fascinating. And I also think it's really a positive force in the world. So, I love to hear stories like this. And I appreciate you sharing it with us today.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed seeing you. It's been a long time.
That's right. Okay, and thanks, Cindy. Hold on for just a sec after that we end the stream, but thank you for everyone for joining us on another edition of Thought Leaders Live.